Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is the 1963 Cleveland Indians AL MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball. And home games were played at Cleveland Municipal Stadium downtown, where First Energy Stadium now stands. The Tribe had a reasonable year in 1963. They finished in fifth place with a record of 79 and 83, 4 games under 500, winning percentage of .488, 25 and a half games out of first. The first place team was the New York Yankees, who were 104 and 57, winning percentage of .646. Second place, the Chicago White Sox, 94 and 68, 10 and a half games out of first. Third place, the Minnesota Twins, 86 and 76. Fourth place, the Baltimore Orioles, 86 and 76. Fifth place, the Cleveland Indians, 79 and 83. Sixth place, the Detroit Tigers, 79 and 83. Seventh place, the Boston Red Sox, 76 and 85. Eighth place, the Kansas City Athletics, 73 and 89. Ninth place, the Los Angeles Angels, 70 and 91. And in 10th and last place, the Washington Senators, 56 and 106, winning percentage of .346, 48 and a half games out of first. Washington, first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League. From June 2nd to June 20th, the Tribe went 18 and 3, which was quite a run, and that brought them up to fourth place, which was the high point of the season. On July 31 at the stadium, the second game of a doubleheader, the Tribe against the Los Angeles Angels. In the sixth inning, the Indians had 4 consecutive home runs by Woody Held, Pedro Ramos, Tito Francona, and Larry Brown. Really something. Tribe attendance in 1963 was 562,507 for an average of 6,945 fans per game. This was a financial disaster, the lowest attendance since 1945, down 150,000 from 1962. And the team lost between $500,000 and $1.2 million. The All-Star Game, MLB All-Star Game, was in Cleveland at the stadium in 1963 on July 9th. The attendance was low for that game, only 44,160, with 30,000 empty seats. MLB had 2 All-Star games from 1959 to 62, so maybe people were tired of All-Star games. And the National League won the All-Star game at Cleveland Municipal Stadium 5-3. During the All-Star break, there were rumors that the Tribe might move to Atlanta, Georgia. 1963 was the last year for Stan Musial's tremendous career, the St. Louis Cardinals star, who played from 1941 to 1963. He had a lifetime batting average of .331 with 475 home runs and 1,951 RBIs, 3,630 hits. His biographer, George Vesey, wrote, quote, "He had been working since he was a teenager. He did not know the meaning of leisure time. He thought out loud maybe he would take his family to the Kentucky Derby, the Indy 500, a picnic on the 4th of July. Stan Musial said, "What else do people do in the summer? I don't know." 1963, Mets played at the Polo Grounds, and that was the last year of MLB baseball at the Polo Grounds. I read a fine book. The title is Roberto and Me by Dan Gutman, 2010, a baseball card adventure. Time travel back in time and to try to save Roberto Clemente from his fatal accident when he was in an airplane crash that year. 1963, the civil rights movement was very strong, and Birmingham, Alabama was a battleground. On August 28th in Washington, D.C., Martin Luther King led the March on Washington. 250,000 peaceful protesters came. They are fighting for equal rights for Black African Americans and a full participation in American life. And Martin Luther King said this, quote, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Now, that speech was in front of the Lincoln Memorial by the reflecting pool in Washington. Now, Willie Mays set an interesting record in 1963. He hit a home run in the 16th inning of a game. And during his career, he's the only player to hit a home run in innings 1 through 16. So he was hitting home runs in extra inning games, those various innings. In 1963, the strike zone was reduced in size. On April 10th, Duke Snider was sold by the LA Dodgers to the New York Mets for $40,000, the former famous Brooklyn Dodgers star. On April 8th, 1963, U.S. President John F. Kennedy in Washington, D.C. at Griffith Stadium threw out the last ceremonial first pitch on opening day that he would throw because he would die in November. Senators-Orioles game. In 1963, Pete Rose was a rookie with the Cincinnati Reds playing second base. And in spring training, on his first, he got a walk in his first at-bat, and he sprinted to first base. And Mickey Mantle was a witness, and he called Rose Charlie Hustle, and the nickname stuck. On September 15th, 1963, a bomb exploded in the basement at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 young black girls in the civil rights crisis. Very, very tragic. Now, Gabe Paul was back as the head of the ownership group and general manager of the Tribe in 1963. Paul was the head of the Tribe ownership group from 1963 to 1966, and he was the Tribe general manager from 1961 to 1973, and from 1978 to 1984. He owned 20% of the Tribe, and that made him the largest. That means he had the largest share among the owners. Terry Pluto wrote, quote, "Gabe Paul busted his back to keep the Tribe in Cleveland in the 1960s. If it hadn't been for Gabe Paul, the Indians would have been some other city's team. Gabe Paul convinced the owner Bill Daly not to move." Carol Conklin wrote, quote, "In his first 2 years as the Indians' general manager, Gabe Paul had clearly demonstrated that he was no Trader Lane. He didn't share his predecessor's lust for dealing high-profile players. His trigger finger was slower, his direction of the team more deliberate. The change was welcomed by Cleveland's followers. In the wake of Frank Lane's obsessive dealing, they had witnessed the Indians' transformation from a perennial contender to a middle-of-the-pack team." Gabe Paul. Now, the Indians' broadcaster, Jimmy Dudley, was back on WERE radio, and Dudley was a Tribe radio broadcaster from 1948 to 1967. Jimmy Dudley. His partner was Harry Jones on WERE radio. Harry Jones was a Tribe radio broadcaster from 1961 to 1963, a Tribe TV broadcaster from 1964 to 1974 and in 1977. And he was a Cleveland Plain Dealer sports writer from 1947 to 1960. Harry Jones. Ken Coleman was his partner on WJW-TV. Coleman was a Tribe TV broadcaster from 1954 to 1963, and the Cleveland Browns broadcaster from 1952 to 1965. He was the father of Casey Coleman, a Cleveland sports and newscaster. And so this was the end of his time as a Cleveland as a Tribe TV broadcaster. But for 2 more years, he would broadcast Cleveland Browns games. Ken Coleman. Bob Neal was on television. Was Ken Coleman's partner. Bob Neal was a Tribe TV and radio broadcaster from 1952 to 1953, and from 1957 to 1972. Bob Neal. Bertie Tebbetts was the Tribe manager in 1963. Tebbetts was a Tribe player from 1951 to 1952, and the Tribe manager from 1963 to 1966. Frank Robinson, who played for him in Cincinnati, said, quote, "When I came to the Cincinnati Reds in 1956, that's when I first ran into a manager that cared about players. That was Bertie Tebbetts. He was excellent with young players. He'd walk up and down the dugout in spring training and say, 'What's the count?' and 'How many outs?' You know, this type of thing. Kept you on your toes. He was concerned about you and just talked baseball with you. I learned an awful lot." I'm reading a fine book. The title is Birdie, Confessions of a Baseball Nomad by Bertie Tebbetts with James Morrison, 2002. Reggie Jackson said, quote, I felt a special kinship with Bertie. He was funny. He made you laugh, and in those days I needed a laugh, and he knew it. He was a teacher who respected the ball player. Tebbetts got a sports scholarship at Providence College, and he said, quote, "The Dominican fathers drilled me on the writings of Plato, Aristotle, St. Augustine, and Thomas Aquinas. In turn, I gave them good sweat on the basketball court and on the diamond. A big night on the town was scraping together $1 to buy 2 tickets to a movie and holding hands in the balcony, then stopping for a lemon Coke at a soda fountain on the way home." He started in the minor leagues and playing for New Bedford in the New England League, and he said, quote, "One Sunday my girl came to see me play. She sat in the rickety grandstands among the cheering, jeering, unwashed, among the hawkers of pop and peanuts and Cracker Jack, and saw the grime and sweat and spit of the game." There's a good story. MLB player Ducky Medwick, on meeting Pope Pius XII, said, quote, "Holy Father, do you realize that you and I are both former cardinals?" Tebbetts had a fight as a player with opposing player Ben Chapman, and Lou Gehrig told Tebbetts that if he fought Chapman again and landed 2 good punches, Gehrig would buy Tebbetts, quote, "the best suit you will ever own." Tebbetts said, quote, "You wouldn't think of buying somebody a new suit today. People quit wearing suits. But that was a grand gesture during the Depression of the 30s, when the fact that you were wearing a new suit told your status. And in those days, a new suit came with a new pair of pants." The ball player's life, in spite of the fact that he's one of a team, contains the same jealousies, betrayals, alliances, and paranoia as life at a corporation. On any given day during a game, there is always some kind of subplot going on, one of those invisible, slow-burning grudges that sooner or later has to come to a head. Bertie Tebbetts. Mel Harder was back as Tribe pitching coach. Harder was a Tribe player from 1928 to 1947, a Tribe pitching coach from 1948 to 1963. He threw out the first pitch at Cleveland Municipal Stadium in 1932, and the last ceremonial pitch at the stadium in 1993. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. He went on to coach for the New York Mets in 1964, the Chicago Cubs in 1965, and the Cincinnati Reds from 1966 to 68, and the Kansas City Royals in 1969. In 1990, the Tribe retired Harder's number 18. What a tremendous life and career for Mel Harder. George Strickland was a coach. Strickland was a Tribe player from 1952 to 1957, and from 1959 to 1960. He was a Tribe coach from 1963 to 1969. Strickland was a Tribe interim manager. In 1964, had a record of 33 and 39, and he was a Tribe interim manager again in 1966 with a record of 15 and 24. George Strickland. Elmer Vallo was the first base coach. Vallo was a Tribe player in 1959 and a Tribe coach from 1963 to 1964. Elmer Vallo. Now the starting lineup, Joe Askew was the catcher. Askew batted .284 with 91 hits. He scored 26 runs, 16 doubles, 14 home runs, 46 RBIs, a stolen base, 15 walks in 94 games. Askew was born in 1939 in Cienfuegos, Cuba. And he's 79 years old in 2019. For his career, he batted .252 with 50 home runs and 304 RBIs. Askew played for the Cincinnati Reds, Kansas City Athletics, Cleveland Indians, Boston Red Sox, California Angels, and Milwaukee Brewers from 1960 to 1972. He was an All-Star in 1968 with the Tribe. He was called the Immortal Askew and the Immortal Cuban. He played for the Cienfuegos Elephants in the Cuban League, won a title in 1959. He also won a Caribbean Series title in 1960. In 1968, he hit into an unassisted triple play. He was a very capable defensive catcher and led the American League catchers in fielding percentage in 1967 and 1968. He had a career fielding percentage of .992, second only to Elston Howard among MLB catchers at the time of his retirement. During his career, he threw out 45% of base runners attempting to steal bases. 10th all-time. In 1966, he threw out 62% of attempting base stealers, 5th highest percentage in MLB history. He also caught 2 no-hitters, one by Sonny Siebert in 1966, and the other by Clyde Wright in 1970. Of course, Clyde Wright was the father of Jarrett Wright, who was a star in 1977 for the Tribe. 1974, Askew was a manager for the Reno Silver Sox in the minors in the Class A League. In the minor leagues, he played for the Wenatchee Chiefs, Salt Lake City Angels, Portland Beavers, Palatka Redlegs, Havana Sugar Kings, and in Venezuela for the Leones de Caracas. Doug Kirkle wrote, quote, "Joe Askew became a mainstay for the Indians and a positive force in the clubhouse with his leadership skills and bilingual abilities." Again, Askew had the nickname the Immortal Cuban. He was in his first game, he had flown all night from Portland, where he was playing in the minors, and so he was sleep deprived. And during the game, he was sleeping in the bullpen. Now, catcher John Romano during the game was hit by a foul tip and had a broken hand. So they woke up Askew, who went into the game, and he hit a home run. And during this time, he got the nickname the Immortal Cuban. Now, Bertie Tebbetts would find players who used the F word, and $50, $100 for the MF word. In one game, Askew lost his temper and said the MF word twice. And Askew said, quote, "After the game, Bertie called me into his office and said, 'Joe, my son, be a professional. Don't say things like that.' And after that, I didn't." Russell Schneider wrote, quote, "Joe Askew was indeed something special most of the 1963 season. Not only did he do everything right to earn that immortal nickname, he also seemed, even then, to be a lock to eventually make it to the Hall of Fame. In Askew's first 21 games playing for the Tribe went 18-3, and he hit .425. Russell Schneider wrote, quote, "Joe Askew will long be remembered for the headlines he earned in 1963. Joe Askew." Fred Whitfield played first base. Whitfield batted .251 with 87 hits. He scored 44 runs, 17 doubles, 3 triples, 21 home runs, 54 RBIs, 24 walks in 109 games. Whitfield was born in 1938 in Van Diver, Alabama, and died in 2013 in Gadsden, Alabama, at age 75. For his career, he batted .253 with 108 home runs and 356 RBIs. Whitfield played for the St. Louis Cardinals, Cleveland Indians, Cincinnati Reds, and Montreal Expos from 1962 to 1970. They called him Wingy. He had a unique throwing motion. In his MLB debut, he pinch hit for Bob Gibson. He was on the 1965 Sporting News All-Star team playing as a first baseman. Whitfield was an avid outdoorsman, enjoyed playing bluegrass music on the guitar, and was active in a gospel group, which included his wife. He died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. In the minors, he played for the Tulsa Oilers, Winnipeg Whips, Atlanta Crackers, and Buffalo Bisons. After his 2013 death, the memorial in the online guest book recorded, quote, "Fred Whitfield had a true servant's heart, enjoyed life, and fought hard to finish his last innings strong." Whitfield said, quote, "We formed a gospel group," that was in Gadsden, Alabama, "and go around and sing in nursing homes, in churches, places like that, 2 or 3 times a week." Whitfield played first base because, as he said, quote, "because that was the only position I could play. I didn't have too many tools, but I could hit a little bit, and I always tried hard." And he got the nickname Wing because he had a weak throwing arm. Whitfield said, quote, "One of my minor league managers told me, 'You've got a chicken wing for an arm,' and he was right. I threw my arm out in high school when the coach asked me to pitch, and in those days when a coach wanted you to do something, you did it. The next day I could hardly throw a ball from first base to home plate, and my arm never got much better. It was always bad, still is." He accepted $500 to sign as a signing bonus in 1958 with the Cardinals, and he said, quote, "I thought I was in high cotton when they gave me all that money just to play ball. My wife and I both liked it when I played in Cleveland." Fred Whitfield. Woody Held played second base. Held batted .248 with 103 hits. He scored 61 runs, 19 doubles, 4 triples, 17 home runs, 61 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 61 walks, 96 strikeouts in 133 games. And Held was with Cleveland from 1958 to 1964. Woody Held. Larry Brown played shortstop. Brown batted .255 with 63 hits. He scored 28 runs, 6 doubles, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 22 walks in 74 games. Brown was born in 1940 in Shinston, West Virginia, and he's 79 years old in 2019. For his career, he batted .233 with 47 home runs and 254 RBIs. Brown played for the Cleveland Indians, Oakland Athletics, Baltimore Orioles, and Texas Rangers from 1963 to 1974. His brother Dick Brown also played MLB. 1966, in May, he was involved and had a very serious injury on a fly ball. He ran into outfielder Leon Wagner on a fly ball and had a skull fracture, facial injuries, and so that was very serious. He was top 10 in intentional walks in 1960 in the American League. He won a World Series title in 1972 with the Oakland A's. In the minors, Brown played for the Corca Indians, Salt Lake City Bees. Brown said, quote, "I liked Bertie Tebbetts a lot. He was good. One time when I went back to Cleveland for an old-timers game, I went up to Bertie and thanked him for all he did for me. He said, 'Don't thank me, I want to thank you. You were the best shortstop I had.' I don't know if that was true or not, but I appreciated it a lot." Larry Brown. Max Alvis was at third base. Alvis batted .274 with 165 hits. He scored 81 runs, 32 doubles, 7 triples, 22 home runs, 67 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 36 walks, 109 strikeouts in 158 games. Alvis was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1969. He led the team in home runs and RBIs and was the 1963 Cleveland Indians Man of the Year. Max Alvis. Tito Francona was in left field. Francona batted .228 with 114 hits. He scored 57 runs, 29 doubles, 10 home runs, 41 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 47 walks in 142 games. Francona was with Cleveland from 1959 to 1964. He was the father of the current and outstanding Tribe manager, Terry Francona. Tito Francona. Vic Davalillo played center field. Davalillo batted .292 with 108 hits. He scored 44 runs, 18 doubles, 5 triples, 7 home runs, 36 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 16 walks in 90 games. Davalillo was born in 1936 in Sabimas, Zulia, Venezuela, and he's 82 years old in 2019. For his career, he batted .279 with 36 home runs and 329 RBIs. Davalillo played for the Cleveland Indians, California Angels, St. Louis Cardinals, Pittsburgh Pirates, Oakland Athletics, and Los Angeles Dodgers from 1963 to 1980. He was an All-Star in 1965 with the Tribe. Davalillo won 2 World Series titles in 1971 with the Pirates and 1973 with the Oakland A's. He won a Gold Glove in 1964 with the Tribe. Generally a leadoff hitter, known for his speedy base-running ability and very capable on defense. Valuable utility player later in his career. He was a record-setting pinch hitter. In the Venezuelan Winter League, he's the all-time leader in total base hits and batting average. His brother Pompeo Davalillo also played MLB for the Washington Senators. Davalillo won the first batting title in the history of the Jacksonville Suns, hitting .346 in 1962. He was the 8th Venezuelan to play MLB baseball. In 1963, he made the Topps All-Rookie team. In 1969, he had a nervous breakdown in Venezuela. Also in '69, with the St. Louis Cardinals, he had 2 relief appearances and failed to retire a batter. He's one of 14 pitchers in MLB history with an ERA of infinity. In 1970, he had 24 pinch hits, which was a National League record. 1973, in the ALCS, playing for the Oakland A's, he was 5 for 8, batting .625, and had a crucial RBI triple in the decisive Game 5. Davalillo played 3 seasons in Mexico and hit .300. 1977, in Mexico, he led the league, batting .384. His last 4 years in MLB, he was the oldest player in the National League. He retired at age 43. Davalillo, for his career, had 1,122 hits and 125 stolen bases. He was a fan favorite with the Tribe. He played in Venezuela till he was 50 years old. In the minors, Davalillo played for the Albuquerque Dukes, Havana Sugar Kings, and the Topeka Reds, and in Venezuela for the Leones de Caracas and Tigres de Aragua. On June 12th, he was hit by the pitch from Detroit's pitcher Hank Aguirre, fractured his right forearm, and was out till August 10th. And he was never the same against left-handed pitchers. Vic Davalillo. Al Luplo was in right field. Luplo batted .234 with 69 hits. He scored 34 runs, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 7 home runs, 27 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 33 walks in 100 games. Luplow was with Cleveland from 1961 to 1965, and his great-nephew Jordan Luplow is currently playing for the Tribe. Al Luplow. Now, the bench players included Willie Kirkland, who played some outfield. Kirkland batted .230 with 98 hits. He scored 51 runs, 13 doubles, 2 triples, 15 home runs, 47 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 45 walks, 99 strikeouts in 127 games. Kirkland was with Cleveland from 1961 to 1963. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1966. Then he played pro baseball in Japan until 1973. Willie Kirkland. Joe Adcock played some first base. Adcock batted .251 with 71 hits. He scored 28 runs, 7 doubles, a triple, 13 home runs, 49 RBIs, a stolen base, 30 walks in 97 games. Adcock was born in 1927 in Coushatta, Louisiana, and died in 1999 in Coushatta at age 71. For his career, he batted .277 with 336 home runs. Wow. 1,122 RBIs. He was a manager for 1 year, had a record of 75 and 87, winning percentage of .463, and that was with the Cleveland Indians. He played for the Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Braves, Cleveland Indians, LA Angels, and California Angels from 1950 to 1966, and was the Tribe manager in 1967. He was a two-time All-Star in 1960 when they had 2 games. Won a World Series title in 1957 with the Milwaukee Braves. Adcock hit 4 home runs in 1 game on July 31, 1954. He's in the Miller Park Wall of Fame for the Milwaukee Brewers. He has the 3rd highest fielding percentage for first baseman at .994. They called him Billy Joe, modeled after Vanderbilt University basketball star Billy Joe Adcock. Adcock went to Louisiana State and played on the baseball team there. He had never played baseball before when he went to college. When he hit his 4 home runs in that game, he also had a double for a record 18 total bases in the game, which was broken by Shawn Green in 2002. On May 26, 1959, the Pirates' Harvey Haddix had a perfect game, and Adcock hit a home run to end it. The game was scoreless. There were two base runners. Henry Aaron thought it was a game-winning double, so he walked to the dugout, and Adcock passed him and was out, so he didn't get his home run. After he retired, he ran his 288-acre ranch raising horses. Adcock died of Alzheimer's disease. In the minors, he played for the Tulsa Oilers. Joe Adcock. John Romano played some catcher. Romano batted .216 with 55 hits. He scored 28 runs, 5 doubles, 2 triples, 10 home runs, 34 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 38 walks in 89 games. Romano was with Cleveland from 1960 to 1964. He had a broken finger on May 26th and missed quite a few games as a result. John Romano. Jerry Kindle was a middle infielder. Kindle batted .205 with 48 hits. He scored 27 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 5 home runs, 20 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 18 walks, 71 strikeouts in 86 games. Kindle was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1964, and he was the first winner of the Gordon Cobbledick Golden Tomahawk Award for the most underrated player on the team, named after the former Cleveland sports writer Gordon Cobbledick. Jerry Kindle. Dick Hauser played some shortstop. Hauser batted .247 with 40 hits. He scored 25 runs, 5 doubles, a home run, 10 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 22 walks in 49 games. Hauser was born in 1936 in Miami, Florida, and died in 1987 in Kansas City, Missouri at age 51. For his career, he batted .248 with 16 home runs and 165 RBIs. Hauser played for the Kansas City Athletics, Cleveland Indians, and New York Yankees from 1961 to 1968. He was interim manager for the Yankees in 1978 and 1980, and the Kansas City Royals manager from 1981 to 1986. Hauser was a 2-time All-Star in 1961, both when they had 2 games. He won 3 World Series titles in 1977 and 78 as a coach for the Yankees, and in 1985 as manager for the Kansas City Royals. The Royals retired his number 10. He's in the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame. The 85 Royals, that was their first World Series title. Hauser went to Florida State University, played on the baseball team, hit a record .422 there in 1956. As a rookie for the Kansas City Athletics, he hit .280 with 37 stolen bases and led American League's shortstops in putouts and errors. He's a third base coach for the Yankees and then one year in 1979 he was a baseball coach at Florida State. In 1980, as manager of the Yankees, won an American League East title. In the 2007 ESPN miniseries, Dick Howser is played by Max Casello. In 1986, he got a brain tumor. In 1987, his number 10 was retired by the Royals. He died of that brain tumor tragically. The Dick Howser Trophy was established in college baseball as the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. And at Florida State University, the Mike Martin Field at Dick Howser Stadium is named in his honor. Dick Howser. Mike De La Hoz played some second base. De La Hoz batted .267 with 40 hits. He scored 15 runs, 10 doubles, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, 9 walks in 67 games. De La Hoz was with Cleveland from 1960 to 1963. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1969. Mike De La Hoz. Tony Martinez played some shortstop. Martinez batted .156 with 22 hits. He scored 10 runs, had 4 doubles, 8 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 walks in 43 games. Martinez was born in 1940 in Perico, Matanzas Province, Cuba, and died in 1991 in Miami, Florida at age 51. For his career, he batted .171 with 10 RBIs in 73 games. He played for the Cleveland Indians from 1963 to 1966. 1962, he was the MVP in the International League for the Jacksonville Suns, and they won the pennant. In the minors, he played for the Minot Mallards, Portland Beavers, and Tulsa Oilers. And in Venezuela, he played for the Tigres de Aragua. Tony Martinez. Willie Tasby played some outfield. Tasby batted .224 with 26 hits. He scored 11 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 4 home runs, 5 RBIs, 15 walks in 52 games. Tasby was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1963, and this was the end of his MLB career. Willie Tasby. Gene Green played some right field. Green batted .205 with 16 hits. He scored 4 runs, had 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 4 walks in 43 games. Green was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1963. And 1963 was the end of his MLB career. Gene Green. Bob Chance played some right field. Chance batted .288 with 15 hits. He scored 5 runs, had 4 doubles, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, a walk in 16 games. Chance was born in 1940 in Statesboro, Georgia, and died in 2013 in Charleston, West Virginia at age 73. For his career, he batted .261 with 24 home runs and 112 RBIs in 277 games. Chance played for the Cleveland Indians, Washington Senators, California Angels, and the Sankai and Yakult Adams in Japan from 1963 to 1970. He was the Eastern League MVP in 1963. He played winter ball for Leones de Ponce in the Puerto Rican League and Cardenales de Lara in Venezuela. He died of prostate cancer. He also played for the Hawaii Islanders and Buffalo Bisons in the minor leagues. Bob Chance. Ellis Burton played some outfield. Burton batted .194 with 6 hits. He scored 6 runs, hit 3 doubles, a home run, an RBI, 4 walks in 26 games. Burton was born in 1936 in Los Angeles, California, and died in 2013 in Fontana, California at age 77. For his career, he batted .216 with 17 home runs and 59 RBIs. Burton played for the St. Louis Cardinals, Cleveland Indians, and Chicago Cubs from 1958 to 1965. He played for 11 years in the minors and hit .274 with 169 home runs in 1,213 games. In the minors, he played for the Billings Mustangs, Fort Worth Cats, Tri-City Braves, Louisville Colonels, and Houston Buffaloes. Ellis Burton. Doc Edwards was a spare catcher. Edwards batted .258 with 8 hits. He scored 6 runs, had 2 doubles, 2 walks in 10 games. Edwards was a Tribe player from 1962 to 1963. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB playing career lasted until 1970. He was a Tribe coach from 1985 to 87 and Tribe manager from 1987 to 1989. On May 25th, Edwards was traded to the Kansas City Athletics for Dick Howser and Joe Askew. Doc Edwards. Tommy Agee played some outfield. Agee batted .148 with 4 hits. in 27 at-bats. He scored 3 runs, had a double, a home run, 3 RBIs, 2 walks in 13 games. Agee was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1964. Tommy Agee. Cal Neiman was a spare catcher. Neiman batted 9 times, did not have a hit, walked once, struck out 5 times in 9 games. Neiman was born in 1929 in Valmeyer, Illinois, and died in 2015 in Lake St. Louis, Missouri at age 86. For his career, he batted .224 with 30 home runs and 97 RBIs. Neiman played for the Chicago Cubs, Philadelphia Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates, Cleveland Indians, and Washington Senators from 1957 to 1963. He went to Illinois Wesleyan University and played on the baseball and basketball teams there. Neiman was in the U.S. Army in the Korean War, 1951 to 1952. He was a Cubs rookie in 1957 and led National League catchers with games caught at 118 and double plays and caught stealing. In the minors, he played for the Buffalo Bisons, Joplin Miners, Atlanta Crackers, Binghamton Triplets, Birmingham Barons, Denver Bears, and Columbus Jets. Cal Neiman. Sammy Taylor was another spare catcher. Taylor batted .300 with 3 hits and 10 at-bats. He scored a run, had an RBI in 4 games. Taylor was born in 1933 in Woodruff, South Carolina, and he's 86 years old in 2019. For his career, he batted .245 with 33 home runs and 147 RBIs. Taylor played for the Chicago Cubs, New York Mets, Cincinnati Reds, and Cleveland Indians from 1958 to 1963. So this was the end of his MLB career. In the minors, he played for the Topeka Hawks, Buffalo Bisons, and San Diego Padres. Sammy Taylor. Bob Lipsky was another spare catcher. He batted once, did not have a hit, struck out in 2 games. Lipsky was born in 1938 in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and he's 81 years old in 2019. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1963. After his MLB career, he worked as a Pennsylvania state trooper in his hometown of Scranton. In the minors, he played for the Tampa Tarpons, Des Moines Demons, Chattanooga Lookouts, Arkansas Travelers, York White Roses, and Buffalo Bisons. Bob Lipsky. Jim Lawrence was another catcher. Lawrence batted twice, did not have a hit. He had 4 fielding chances and 1 error. Lawrence was born in 1939 in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and he's 80 years old in 2019. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1963. He had 7 seasons in the minors from 1958 to 64. In the minors, he played for the Minot Mallards, Salt Lake City Bees, Portland Beavers, and Cocoa Indians. Jim Lawrence. Now, the pitching staff was anchored by ace pitcher Jim Mudcat Grant, who was 13-14 with an ERA of 3.69. 38 games, 32 starts, 10 complete games, 2 shutouts, a save, 229 and a third innings pitched, and 157 strikeouts. Grant batted .188 with 13 hits. He scored 11 runs, 3 doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 walks, 24 strikeouts in 53 games. He was used quite a bit as a pinch runner. Mudcat Grant was a Tribe player from 1958 to 1964, Tribe TV broadcaster from 1973 to 1974 and in 1977. He played on the 1963 American League All-Star team, played at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Grant said, quote, "My hero was Larry Doby. In the back of my mind, I wanted to play for the Indians because of Larry Doby. I just wish I could have pitched for the Indians in the World Series." Regarding Mudcats Grant as a television broadcaster, Joe Tate said, quote, "I heard his work and I liked it. I thought he could have been another Dizzy Dean." The average fan related to Mudcat. Grant liked to visit his childhood home in Lacucci, Florida, and he said, quote, "I look around and see that we have running water, paved roads, and electricity. We had none of that when I was a kid. Now there are trucks to pick up the garbage. We have a new park for the kids, and the street going into the park is named after me. I think a lot about growing up in Lacucci. It's good for me to remember where I came from." Jim Mudcat Grant. Dick Donovan was 11-13 with an ERA of 4.24, 30 games, all starts, 7 complete games, 3 shutouts, 206 innings pitched, and 84 strikeouts. Donovan batted .130 with 9 hits. He scored 4 runs, had a double, a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, and struck out 31 times. Donovan was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1965. Dick Donovan. Jack Kralik was 13-9 with an ERA of 2.92, 28 games, 27 starts, 10 complete games, 3 shutouts, 197 and a third innings pitched, and 116 strikeouts. Kralik batted .183 with 11 hits. He scored 4 runs, had a double, a home run, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, and struck out 24 times. Kralik was born in 1935 in Youngstown, Ohio, and died in 2012 in San Blas, Mexico at age 77. For his career, he was 67 and 65, with an ERA of 3.56 and 668 strikeouts. Kralik pitched for the Washington Senators, Minnesota Twins, and Cleveland Indians from 1959 to 1967. He was an all-star in '64 with the Tribe. He threw a no-hitter in 1962 with the Twins. Kralik went to Michigan State University. 1956, he had a 7-inning no-hitter in the minors for the Duluth Superior White Sox. 1961, he participated in the most recent game where 2 pitchers hit home runs for the same team in the same game, which has happened 6 times in MLB history. On August 26, 1962, he threw a no-hitter against the Kansas City A's and won that game 1-0 at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. He was the first Twins no-hitter. He retired the first 25 batters before George Alusik had a base on ball to spoil the perfect game. 1967, he was in a car accident. He lost control of his car and crashed against the retaining wall on Memorial Shoreway near Cleveland Municipal Stadium in Cleveland on May 2nd and had a cerebral contusion, temporary diplopia. After he retired, he worked as an insurance salesman for the North American Life Assurance Company in Toronto. He was of Slovak descent. In the minors, Kralik played for the Chattanooga Lookouts and the Madison Miners. He emigrated to Mexico. Carol Conklin wrote, quote, "Jack Kralik could be dominating, even unhittable on occasion. He had an appetite for innings and consistently kept his team in the game." Jack Kralik. Pedro Ramos was 9-8 with an ERA of 3.12, 36 games, 22 starts, 5 complete games, 184 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 169 strikeouts. Ramos batted .109 with 6 hits and 55 at-bats. He scored 13 runs, had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 3 walks, and struck out 32 times in 54 games. He was also used as a pinch runner. Ramos was with Cleveland from 1962 to 1964, and growing up, my older brother Mark used to call me Pedro Ramos. Pedro Ramos. Barry Latman was 7-12 with an ERA of 4.94, 38 games, 21 starts, 4 complete games, 2 shutouts, 2 saves, 149 and a third innings pitched, and 133 strikeouts. Latman batted .182 with 8 hits. He scored 4 runs, had a double, a triple, a home run, 4 RBIs, a walk, and struck out 13 times. Latman was with Cleveland from 1960 to 1963. Barry Latman. Sam McDowell was 3-5 with an ERA of 4.85, 14 games, 12 starts, 3 complete games, a shutout, 65 innings pitched, and 63 strikeouts. McDowell batted .211 with 4 hits. He scored a run, had a walk, and struck out 9 times. McDowell was with Cleveland from 1961 to 1971. Sudden Sam McDowell. Ted Abernathy was the closer. Abernathy was 7-2 with an ERA of 2.88, 43 games, 12 saves, 59 and a third innings pitched, and 47 strikeouts. Abernathy batted .400 with 2 hits and 5 at-bats. He scored a run, had a double, a walk, and struck out twice. Abernathy was born in 1933 in Stanley, North Carolina, and died in 2004 in Gastonia, North Carolina at age 71. For his career, he was 63 and 69 with an ERA of 3.46, 765 strikeouts, and 149 saves. Abernathy pitched for the Washington Senators, Cleveland Indians, Chicago Cubs, Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds, St. Louis Cardinals, and Kansas City Royals from 1955 to 1972. He was an effective sidearmer with a submarine pitch. Abernathy was in the Korean War, drafted into the U.S. Army, served with medics and drove an ambulance, and also repaired vehicles. 1965, he led the National League with 31 saves with the Cubs. 1967, he led the league in saves as well. He was the Sporting News Reliever of the Year. After he retired, he worked for the Summy Building Systems in Dallas, North Carolina, with his son, who had a landscaping business, Todd Abernathy Landscaping. Abernathy was a member of the First United Methodist Church in Dallas, North Carolina. He enjoyed playing softball and tinkering with old cars. He was active in the Masonic Lodge and the Shriners and the MLB Alumni Association. He developed Alzheimer's disease. In the minors, he played for the Charlotte Hornets, Chattanooga Lookouts, Louisville Colonels, Miami Marlins, Wilson Pennants, Roanoke Rapids, Jays, and Salt Lake City Bees, and in Venezuela for Leones de Caracas. Ted Abernathy. Gary Bell was a relief pitcher. Bell was 8-5 with an ERA of 2.95, 58 games, 7 starts, 5 saves, 119 innings pitched, and 98 strikeouts. Bell batted .115 with 3 hits and 26 at-bats. He walked once and struck out 8 times. Bell was with Cleveland from 1958 to 1967. Gary Ding Dong Bell. Jerry Walker was a relief pitcher. Walker was 6-6 with an ERA of 4.91, 39 games, 2 starts, a save, 88 innings pitched, and 41 strikeouts. Walker batted .105 with 2 hits and 19 at-bats. He scored a run, had 2 RBIs, a walk, and struck out 5 times. Walker was born in 1939 in Ada, Oklahoma, and he's 80 years old in 2019. For his career, he was 37-44 with an ERA of 4.36 and 326 strikeouts. Walker pitched for the Baltimore Orioles, Kansas City Athletics, and Cleveland Indians from 1957 to 1964. He was also an All-Star in 1959. He was signed by the Orioles as a bonus baby out of his high school, and he was a member of the Orioles Kiddie Corps young pitchers in the late 50s, that included Milt Pappas, Steve Barber, and Chuck Estrada. He went from high school to MLB, never played in the minors, one of the only few who have done that. In one game, he had no out. After his first game, he had got no outs and 2 earned runs allowed for an ERA of infinity after one game. He was the youngest pitcher in MLB history to start an All-Star game at age 20 in 1959. Was the winning pitcher. He had 13 career saves. Walker, after he retired, was a manager in the minors. He was also an MLB pitching coach and scout, worked in the front office, and as an executive. He was the general manager of the Detroit Tigers in 1993, and from 1995 to 2007, vice president and director of player personnel in the front office for the St. Louis Cardinals, and vice president of the Cincinnati Reds from 2009 to 2014. In the minors, he played for the Knoxville Smokies, Toledo Mud Hens, Jacksonville Suns, and Portland Beavers. What an amazing life and career for Jerry Walker. Bob Allen was a relief pitcher. Allen was 1-2 with an ERA of 4.66, 43 games, 2 saves, 56 innings pitched, and 51 strikeouts. Allen batted .200 with 1 hit and 5 at-bats and struck out 4 times. He was with Cleveland from 1961 to 1963 and from 1966 to 1967. Bob Allen. Early Wynn was 1-2 with an ERA of 2.28, 20 games, 5 starts, a complete game, a save, 55 1/3 innings pitched, and 29 strikeouts. Wynn batted .273 with 3 hits and 11 at-bats. He scored a run and walked twice and struck out 5 times. Early Wynn was a Tribe player from 1949 to 1957 and in 1963. This was the end of his MLB playing career. He was a Tribe coach from 1964 to 1966. On July 13th, Early Wynn won his 300th game, becoming the 14th player in MLB history to win 300 games, and that was his last MLB game as a player. A Tribe victory, 7-4 against the Kansas City Athletics. Early Wynn. Tommy John was 0-2 with an ERA of 2.21, 6 games, 3 starts, 20 1/3 innings pitched, and 9 strikeouts. He batted 6 times, did not have a hit, and struck out twice. John was born in 1943 in Terre Haute, Indiana, and he's 76 years old in 2019. For his career, he won 288 games, lost 231 with an ERA of 3.34 and 2,245 strikeouts. Tommy John pitched for the Cleveland Indians, Chicago White Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, New York Yankees, California Angels, Oakland Athletics, and back with the Yankees from 1963 to 1989. He was a 4-time All-Star in 1968 and from 1978 to 1980. His 288 career wins is 7th highest all-time among left-handed pitchers in MLB history. He had 188 career no decisions, which is an MLB record for starting pitchers. John is known for the surgical procedure that he underwent, ulnar collateral ligament reconstruction, Tommy John surgery, after damage to the ligament in his throwing arm. He was the first pitcher to have that operation, which is now a common procedure. He won National League titles in 1977 and 78 with the Dodgers, and an American League title in 81 with the Yankees. Now, the operation replaced the ligament in his elbow, the elbow of his pitching arm, with a tendon from his right forearm, performed by Dr. Frank Jobe on September 25, 1974. His teammate And pitcher Mike Marshall taught John a different way to pitch, eliminating the chance that he would have hurt his knee and arm. Really helped him a lot. In 1989, Tommy John tied Deacon McGuire with the record of most seasons in MLB history, 26, which was broken by Nolan Ryan later. John was a Yankees TV broadcaster in 1998. He was a manager in the minors for the Bridgeport Bluefish in 2012. He's also been a spokesman for Tommy John Go Flex Joint Cream. He appeared in the 2013 ESPN 30 for 30 documentary with Dr. Frank Jobe. His 2-year-old son Travis in 1981 fell 37 feet from a third-floor window, bounced off the fender of a car, and was in a coma for 17 days but made a full recovery. In 2010, his son Taylor, age 28, died of heart failure after an overdose from prescription medication. Very tragic. In 1998, his daughter Tamara married Chicago Bears long snapper Patrick Manley. In the minors, Tommy John played for the Dubuque Packers, Madison Muskies, and Portland Beavers. Tommy John. Ron Nischwitz was 0-2 with an ERA of 6.48, 14 games, a save, 16 2/3 innings pitched, and 10 strikeouts. He batted once and did not have a hit. Nischwitz was born in 1937 in Dayton, Ohio, and he's 82 years old in 2019. For his career, he was 5-8 with an ERA of 4.21 and 58 strikeouts. Nischwitz pitched for the Detroit Tigers and Cleveland Indians from 1961 to 1963. This was the end of his MLB career. He went to Ohio State University. In 1962, Nischwitz was the Detroit Tigers' most used reliever and appeared in 48 games. He batted .417 with 5 hits and 12 at-bats that year. He was the head coach for the baseball team at Wright State University Raiders from 1975 to 2004. 2007, Nischwitz was inducted into the American Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. In the minors, he played for the Knoxville Smokies, Birmingham Barons, Denver Bears, and Portland Beavers. Ron Nischwitz. Jim Perry had no decisions and an ERA of 5.23, 5 games, 10 1/3 innings pitched, and 7 strikeouts. He batted twice and struck out both times. Perry was with Cleveland from 1959 to 1963, and from 1974 to 1975. He was traded to the Twins on May 2, 1963 for Jack Kralik. Jim Perry. Gordon Seyfried was 0-1 with an ERA of 1.23, 3 games, a start, 7 1/3 innings pitched, and a strikeout. He batted twice, did not have a hit, and struck out once. Seyfried was born in 1937 in Long Beach, California, and he's 82 years old in 2019. For his career, he was 0-1 with an ERA of 0.93, 1 strikeout in 5 games. He pitched for the Cleveland Indians from 1963 to 1964. In the minors, he led the Eastern League in victories in 1958 with 17 for the Lancaster Red Roses. In the minors, he also played for the Denver Bears, Atlanta Crackers, Durham Bulls, and Salt Lake City Bees. Gordon Seyfried. And finally, Jack Curtis had no decisions and an ERA of 18.00, 4 games, 5 innings pitched, and 3 strikeouts. He did not bat. Curtis was born in 1937 in Rhodus, North Carolina, and he's 82 years old in 2019. For his career, he was 14-19 with an ERA of 4.84, 108 strikeouts, and 2 saves. He pitched for the Chicago Cubs, Milwaukee Braves, and Cleveland Indians. In the minor leagues, he pitched for the Ponca City Cubs, Pueblo Bruins, Paris Lakers, Magic Valley Cowboys, Toledo Mud Hens, and Wenatchee Chiefs. After the regular season, the 1963 World Series was played. The Los Angeles Dodgers, National League champions, defeated the New York Yankees, American League champions, 4-0 in a sweep. MVP for the series was Sandy Koufax of the Dodgers. Hall of Famers in the World Series included, for the Dodgers, Walter Alston, the manager, Leo Durocher, coach, Don Drysdale, and Sandy Koufax. For the Yankees, Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, and Mickey Mantle. The Dodgers starting pitchers, Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, Johnny Padres, and ace reliever Ron Perranoski combined only gave up 4 runs in the 4 games. The Yankees never had a lead in a game and batted .171. I read a fine book called Finding the Left Arm of God, Sandy Koufax and the Los Angeles Dodgers, 1960 to 1963. Brian M. Ensley, 2015. Game 1 of the World Series was at Yankee Stadium, and Stan Musial threw out the first pitch with Joe DiMaggio at his side. In Game 1, Sandy Koufax had 15 strikeouts for a World Series record. Games 1 and 2 were at Yankee Stadium and 3 and 4 at Dodger Stadium in L.A. Brian M. Ensley wrote regarding the 1963 World Series. He called it, quote, "It is still considered one of the most dominating pitching performances in World Series history." Sandy Koufax was the best pitcher in MLB in 1963. Jim Bouton, who wrote the famous book Ball 4, was 21-7 for the Yankees that year. In Game 3, Bouton pitched a brilliant four-hitter, but lost the game 1-0 because Don Drysdale had a 3-hit shutout. In Game 4, the last game, Joe Pepitone playing at first base for the Yankees. There was a throw to first on a ball that Pepitone lost because of all the white T-shirts behind third base. The ball hit him on the wrist and got behind him, and the winning run ended up scoring. Jim Gillum, who scored later on a Willie Davis sacrifice fly. After the World Series was over, Mickey Mantle wrote about it years later. He said, quote, "Humiliation may be too harsh a word, but I cannot express how embarrassed we were." After the World Series, Yogi Berra was hired to be Yankee manager in 1964. At the press conference, Berra said, quote, "I've been with the Yankees 17 years, watching games and learning. You can see a lot by observing." Now, November 1st, 1963, the South Vietnamese president Ngo Dinh Diem was overthrown and assassinated. And this led to ongoing political problems, which eventually led to the Vietnam War, American involvement. And John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas on November 22nd, 1963. Very tragic thing for the United States. John Florio and U.C. Shapiro wrote, quote, Mudcat, after John F. Kennedy's death, quote, "Mudcat Grant was so distraught, he drove right past his house. When he turned the car around and parked in front, he couldn't bring himself to go inside. Instead, he held the wheel and wept, letting out a soulful wail that expressed his pain better than any words he could have strung together. It had been 3 years since Grant's unforgettable breakfast with John F. Kennedy." Now, the MVPs for the American League was Elston Howard for the New York Yankees in 1963. In the National League, Sandy Koufax of the LA Dodgers was MVP, and he also won the Cy Young Award, which was only given to one pitcher at that time. This was the first of 3 Cy Young Awards for Koufax in 4 years. His record was 25-5 with 11 shutouts, and an ERA of 1.88 and 306 strikeouts. So that's the story of the 1963 Cleveland Indians. They didn't have an outstanding year, but they were our guys, and they played for us. They played hard every day. God bless the guys who played for the Cleveland Indians in 1963 and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the First World War veterans, Second World War veterans, and Korean War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Euclid Avenue electricity, Severance Hall stalwarts, Cleveland Museum of Art enthusiasts, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum rebels, Christmas Story House happy people, Museum of Contemporary Art maniacs, Cleveland Botanical Garden goers, Old Arcade admirers, Playhouse Square seers, Settlers Landing Park purists, Western Reserve Historical Society wonders, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse renegades, Cuyahoga Valley National Park pioneers, Great Lakes Science Center supporters, and Holden Arboretum enjoyers, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, Gladiators, and Fusion Rule, and Spiders, Bulldogs, Rosenblums, Barons, Rams, Crusaders, Force, Crunch, Lumberjack, and Rockers Rule. Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. It's been 71 years since 1948. This is our year. Go Tribe. Tribe's playing great. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time.